That it is permissible to say that a man may govern himself must be accepted as an axiom in morals, otherwise precepts, or even private decisions, would be entirely vain. Yet on reflection, the axiom appears self-contradictory, or at least equivocal. If one part of a man can govern another part could be said to be the whole man, and the attribution of dominion to himself cannot be strictly correct. Theology has wrestled with this difficulty, sometimes pronouncing boldly that it is only God, or the total automatism of nature, that can govern any event, and sometimes deciding that only the part that freely governs the material part of the man is truly the man himself, the flesh being only an alien burden or recalcitrant instrument with which he has to struggle. But it is not when a man is divided against himself or hard pressed by a hostile world that he enjoys the glorious sentiment of self-mastery. This arises spontaneously when as yet there is perfect health and harmony in the psyche, and the man is swimming with the stream, finding in things only the resistance that is needed to develop his powers and offer him materials plastic to his hand. Or else, rarely, and through heroic discipline, perfect integrity may be attained when the body and its passions have been thoroughly trained and coordinated so that they have become docile vehicles for the rational will. Self-government between these rival forms of perfect harmony can only grope and stumble along through the conflict, compromise, disappointment, and renunciation to sad conformity with a destiny that one would never have chosen for oneself. This analysis of self-government in the soul can be transferred instructively to self-government in the people. Fundamentally, in a simple, uncorrupted society, in simple, unmistakable circumstances, such a thing is spontaneous. Then, to vital health in the soul corresponds unanimity in the community. When a common danger threatens, or a work in common must be undertaken, the whole people, or at least the heads of all the families, can meet the same preoccupation, the same readiness, and it makes them all. Someone, no matter who, will speak for the rest. Either he will meet with instantaneous general approval, or someone else, aware of dissent in the faces of the crowd, will make a different proposal, and will be this that everyone will acclaim, even the man who at first suggested another course, which he now acknowledges not to be the right one. The people will then begin to carry out systematically the measures which they have approved. They will be governed. They will be dutifully obeying an appointed order and an appointed leader. Yet they will be governed only by their common, free, and deliberate will. This is an idealized picture, yet it was often almost realized in many a primitive American settlement, and it still swims before the public mind, not only in the politics of English-speaking peoples, but in the thousand semi-public meetings in which groups of them discuss their business. It survives best, and this is a circumstance worth noticing, where some special purpose or special bond brings these persons together only occasionally. They now have more various and probably more vital interests than those which they gather to discuss. In each club, or each political or charitable gathering, there is probably a small committee, or merely a chairman who does almost all the work and has almost all the enthusiasm. The others sleepily listen and assent willingly, for they share the fundamental views of their associates, else they would not have joined that voluntary and unnecessary society. But the matter is not central or urgent in their minds. Even if they do not altogether like what is being done, they let it pass, and the consensus of opinion in such gatherings comes largely from laziness of thought and indifference to the consequences. There is a normal psychological transformation of private sentiment in public, or even in the presence of a single fellow being. Each becomes cognizant, not of what he is, but of what he seems, or of what the other man may say. Contagion and dissimulation operate together. Both persons begin to think and feel histrionically, not according to their own reason, and the points on which the two agree are the real convictions of neither. Here we see how imperfect the analogy is between self-government in a soul and self-government in a people. In both these agents, there is an original multitude of vital elements, or living cells, sensitive to one another's proximity and force, that are attracted into a dynamic unity. But in the case of a person, this dynamic unity is a biological unit. As a drop of water, comprised of many molecules, is bound together by surface tension into a physical unit, and runs down the window pane with a single combined impulse and cumulative speed. So the many passions and interests in a living man are caught and held together by the network of his brain and of his living cortex. We may say that two souls are wedded irreparably by the surface tension, so to speak, of his skin and a single heart. They may cause the heart to beat alternately, but they cannot breed a heart or a skin or a pair of eyes and hands, each their own, to live in apart. The vital elements, or living cells that compose a people, on the contrary, are themselves natural units, incapable of living except as wholes, or of forming together a larger whole than shall be truly living. Society is physically a concourse, not an organism, and it lives only by virtue of a modification that such a concourse produces, for the time being, in those organisms which are naturally separable and separately alive. The unity which a soul may establish among its passions will be a vital unity in which those passions will lose their separable being, and leave only a heritage of memory and experience to instruct and strengthen that single living soul. But the unity of a people, though it may be a dynamic and emotional unity at certain moments, like the unity of a hurricane, dies away at once into silence in its members. They have each a separate and compulsory life of their own, full of private needs and cares, against which their public enthusiasms are likely to seem, in the end, verbal, artificial, and tragic. Something may nevertheless arise in a society that corresponds in part to the integration of principles and virtues in an individual, as there are traditions and customs in primitive peoples, so in civilized peoples there are laws and institutions. These form the mind of each generation on a common pattern, and become in each man, if he is loyal, the force in the formation of personal character. A people so trained and rendered unanimous may then govern itself in so far as it is already governed by what is called the spirit of those laws and institutions. We are here, however, in the realm of metaphor, a rhetorical illusion. Each man remains a fresh center of life. The traditions he inherits and the institutions he finds, if in part they mold and inspire him, must in part be a drag and a burden to his vital freedom. Few may perceive their plight intellectually, but practically and emotionally all youth will be restive under the imposed common life. and the escape from the tyranny of society entrenched may drive the majority rather into the arms of society dissipated and factious, rather than into the wilderness where the soul, stripped naked, might think to recover its liberty. Government by the people, except in small, simple, and previously disciplined communities, is therefore something elusive and ambiguous. The people is a unit only for apprehension, covering variable and diffuse concourse of separate lives and interests. That which enables the people to exercise the function of government is the prior existence and tacit acceptance of traditions, laws, and institutions which already govern them and which supply models, subject to opportune variations, for the action proposed and for the selection of officers who may carry that action out. For it is not ordinarily the whole people that are being charged with the executive functions, but only certain persons appointed for the purpose. It is by deputy only that the people can steadily govern. But deputies are men placed in privileged and dangerous positions, which vitiate the transmission of commands supposed to be originally given by the people to their elected representatives. This is a delicate subject to which I shall return. For the moment, it will suffice to suggest two possibilities: that a man selected for his eminence to represent the people may care more for the general interest, and may understand it better than does the average citizen who is supposed to direct him; and secondly, that either by his superiority of insight, or else by the growth and special party interest, or private ambition and vanity in the governing class, government may cease to be even indirectly government by the people, and may become an oligarchy or bureaucracy. From these sundry considerations, we may pass to a general remark about self-government. That can never be fully realized except where, in the soul or in the community, there is absolute unanimity. Where any superficial diversity of thought or will cannot be reduced to agreement by a moment's reflection, a dualism is established between that part of the soul, or of the people whose will is done, and that part whose will is defeated and ignored. Then, to say that the soul or the people governs itself can mean only that the power that dominates it is native to it and one strain in its own life. It cannot mean that all govern and all obey, but that the stronger part, in ability, material force, wealth, or numbers, rules the weaker part. There will be domination, not self-government, in such a psyche or such a people. Sometimes, however, such domination by party loses half its venom when, as often happens in Anglo-Saxon countries, the rival parties are only two, each officially unanimous in self, although not really so, and the two so little at variance that they can courteously take turns at the bat, causing no inconvenience and much entertainment to the political public. There is evidently, in such happy times, a genuine, fundamental unanimity as to how they wish to be governed and to play their part in the international game, and they can identify themselves as heartily with the action of their government in time of peace as with that of their army and navy in war. There is always something satisfying, even inebriating, in the shouts of a vast crowd or in an epidemic revolution. These shouts promise unanimity. Far back and deep down in animal life, mimesis determines the growth of structure and aspect. not coercively, as material pressure might, but vitally, by precipitating one out of many potentialities in the plastic psyche. For the less elaborate, entirely organized, are the tropes which matter has adopted, the readier it is to adopt new ones. Yet the indeterminate cannot choose of itself how it shall be determined, but waits in permanent suspense for some accident to determine it, and the rhythm of a neighboring movement, ethereally transmitted, may easily be caught and perpetuated by an innocent being. Such mimesis, I suppose, occurring by dynamic contagion far beneath the surface of things, as it does in heredity. It is not by dint of gazing at his father's beard that the son grows a beard like it. At the due age, it would present itself on his cheeks and chin, even if his father were dead and had been clean shaven. As Pasteur discovered that contagious diseases never jump through vacancy, so a thorough zoology, I believe, would discover dynamic bonds in mimesis. Where a type have become rigid, neighboring types will not induce imitation, rather, if anything, mockery or hostility. But where structure is still plastic and mind vacant, every suggestion is catching. As in a forest fire, sparks break out in various places until the flames meet in one conflagration. So impulses spread in the ignorant crowd, long sullen and inactive, but full of suppressed grievances. A single unforeseen action will then let loose 1,000 imitative wills. Such occasional unanimity, with the ruthless action which it often prompts, though actual, psychologically, is socially and politically an illusion. No two living creatures are ever in their hearts unanimous. The momentary unanimity they may feel is an effect of possession in each by an alien power, not an expression of true self-knowledge or vital liberty. Nevertheless, the ideal of unanimity has an invincible hold on the human imagination. Like other mystical ideals, in which a primary simplicity and an unclouded faith, proper to budding will, rise again like a flood from the depths and drown all the distinctions, troubles, and doubts that anxious life has involved.